Hello and welcome to the Racing Voice podcast, the show that gives motorsport's rising talents a voice on the mainstream motorsport scene. I'm Jake Sanson, and I have three more guests rising the ladder of professional motorsport. First up is a Scottish talent following in the footsteps of his contemporaries such as David Coulthard and Paul di Resta, racing around Britain and Europe in the senior Rotax category of karting, namely Lewis Gilbert. Lewis, great to be with you, and thank you for giving up your time.
No problem. Anytime with you, Jake.
So tell us a little bit about how things have gone for you in 2021. Still pushing very hard in senior Rotax and still running towards the front end of the field. How do you feel it's gone?
It went well. We got top 4 in the British Championship last year. We had a few wins as well throughout the British. We also won on the British Open Championship as well. So it was a good year, but I think there was a bit of room for improvement, but it was a better year than we had previously, so it's going well.
Now, you've still been ploughing this very, very strong furrow. When you get a lot of drivers that switch teams from season to season to try and see what's right, you guys have always very much stuck to what you know best. You've always very much been either on a Persistence Motorsport or on a Strawberry Racing with Tony Khan. What is it about the feel of this particular combination of chassis and working people that just fits you so well?
Just because the carts are quite easy to change, like it's not really a complex change. So if there's a problem with the cart, we know that if the cart starts sliding, we can change this and it'll help it. So we know that what we change it, we know that it will help. So that makes it a bit easier. But I just think it's when there's a lot of drivers in one team, it's pretty hard to really get focused on what you're doing. And it's hard for the team as well to look after each driver. So I think doing it ourselves is I quite enjoy that more. So you're just focusing on the one person and then not really spreading out too much. And then you're not getting the full detail of what you're needing to do, really.
So 2022 is going to be a very, very competitive season again. But when you look back over last year, the achievements where you were able to be so strong in UKC and in the British Karting Championships, what do you take away from 2021 as the ultimate highlight? Where do you think it all went perfectly well?
I think it's probably midway through the season where we had quite a few good rounds. We'd won the second round of the British Championship. And then 2 weeks after that, we won the Old Plate. And then a week after that, we were second at UKC. And then after that, we won the World and Law British Championship. So that kind of space of a few weeks where we thought we were pretty high in the skies, which was quite good. And I think we can hopefully try and make sure that that's the same for this year as well. So I hope it goes as well as it did through that stage last year.
And your performances last year, towards the end of the year, were able to grant you a ticket to the Rotax Grand Finals in Bahrain, which is an amazing achievement for any British driver. Yeah. Just talk us through what that experience was like heading out to Sakir and, really tasting international competition on a world stage.
Yeah, it was good. Like we had since from the second round to the fifth round of the British Championship, we were on the podium each time. So that helped us a lot, trying to secure that entry to the Bahrain race. So, but when you go out there, it's different from what is in the UK. It's a lot kind of more chilled out and calmer. But like it was still really hard. Like the temperatures as well. It was 30 plus degrees out there in the sand. So it was a challenge, but that's what we want.
And are these the kind of events that kind of spur you to keep pushing? Though, do they give you the sort of the motivation to feel, this is what I can achieve? I can be racing on the world stage, and it kind of gives you that little bit of extra impetus to push harder.
Yeah, it definitely. When you go out to different places like these and see new things, learn new things, and know we're not quite good enough of bits we are strong. So it always punches you on and strives you to be a better driver. You just learn so much, like just going to different places, driving different karts, different engines. It's the experience at the end of the day.
And your story is a very different one compared to a lot of the other drivers out there, because you're also working very, very closely with the Potenza Racing Engines brand, which is obviously one of the most successful in British karting, certainly over the last 4 or 5 seasons. Does that just add an extra level of knowledge to what you bring? Because obviously there are drivers that get to work closely with engines, but you really have that analytical ability to really tinker with the engines every day and figure out what really makes them tick.
Yeah, like I think that has helped me as well through the past 4 years. I think just because see when you've got a problem at the track or it's not quite going right on track, then I just know like you have to change this or tweak that or change this in the engine. Like after working with them for quite a period of time, you start to know what the problems are and how you can improve them and just try and get the best out of what kit you have to try and give you the best result at the end of the day.
Now, you have spent the last few seasons trying to perfect your ability in both X30 and Rotax. It's really, really difficult trying to do two classes at the same time. Recently, you've kind of made the switch across to senior Rotax. Just what exactly was the reasoning behind deciding to then go for one class, and has working with the two classes simultaneously actually made you a better driver?
Doing both classes has helped because it's different driving styles between the classes. You can be a bit rougher with the X30 because you can get away with a lot of things, but with the Moto tire, you have to be quite on point and very, very accurate. So it has helped jumping between the two of them, especially at playing distances where you can do both classes and you're jumping between the two of them. It's hard, but after a few times it starts to be kind of normal. I think it's helped me like doing both classes just to really try and perfect what's right for me in each class, and it's helped me a lot, definitely.
And Rotax seems to be what you're favouring at the moment. Is it because as a driver you feel more comfortable in a sort of a smoother feel of driving, or is it just because it makes more sense for you to focus on one particular class at the moment?
It probably does make sense trying just to focus on the one thing, try not have too much to my hands. I think the grids are getting a bit stronger in Rotax, so I think that's why we jumped. We're kind of done next X30. We've done Le Mans, we've done the Euro Series, we've done that for a few years, and we've done well in it. So I think we're just trying something else to see how we go, really.
And I guess for 2022, you're obviously now already starting to focus on the objectives to try and make this season come around. Is it going to be more of the same? Will you be sticking around in senior Rotax, or are there a few other things that we're likely to see you trying this year?
I think Rotax is probably the main thing. I think it is this year. I think we might dip our feet next Saturday, maybe once or twice, just for a bit of fun. Rotax is our main focus this year, especially throughout. We're doing the British Championship this year again to try and see if we can go for the time tour this year, and we're doing the European IAME X Championship as well because we've not really had the full season at that yet, so we'll want to see how we go there.
And one question I guess you have to ask every driver once they get to the senior class of anything is that ever threatening potential for a gearbox campaign. Is the DD2 something that you would consider having a look into?
I think hopefully if in the next 2 or so years, if I do well or happen to win the European Championship or the British, something like that, I think I might try DD2 or the shifter class because it's fast. So that's all we want to do is just go as fast as we can. So.
And it's interesting you talk about that in the shape of sort of 2 or 3 years. I mean, you're getting towards the end of your teens now, and a lot of drivers would start talking about the switch to cars. But this almost sounds like, Lewis, you're basically saying, you see your future in the world of karting as a professional driver. It's kind of like you're kind of saying, well, this is where I can really build a future. Is that fair to say, or are there options open?
There's maybe some other options open. I have had some offers to do other things, and I'm just kind of looking up in them to see if we can undo it or not. So, but my kind of main goal just at this moment in time is to stay in karting, just because I think that I can build a reputation in karting. So hopefully, once I do stop, if I do stop, then hopefully I can try and do something myself, like get a bit of work in it, try and go and build something of my own.
It'll be really interesting to see how this season develops for you, Lewis, and hopefully it will turn into something really strong, both on the karting track and off it. We'll follow you through the course of the year and figure out how things are going, so we'll catch up several times. It's been great to chat to you, Lewis. We wish you all the best, and hopefully this is another prosperous year for you. Good luck.
Yeah, thank you very much, Jake. Thank you.
Thanks, Lewis, and can't wait to see you in action in 2022. Next up is one of Belgium's rising stars of world karting. She races for the EGP racing team in IAME X30 competitions in both the IAME Euro and Benelux series, and she's on the road to superstardom. Her name is Sita Vanmeert. Sita, great to be with you. Wonderful to hear from you again. How have things been from the start of the season?
Things have been very good, except for in Valencia. We didn't really have any luck there, but it was also a new track for me, and the weather was great.
So tell us a little bit about learning the circuit at Valencia, because obviously it's been a very different racetrack for you to learn in a different country, which you're not used to racing in. So how did you adapt to the challenges of learning the circuit?
First of all, we walked on a track and we got to learn all the corners and stuff. And the next day we trained, and I really liked the track because it was very technical. But also there were really long straights, and we also had to sacrifice some corners to come out better in different corners. So I really like the track.
Now, you are still developing as a racing driver coming out of your home country of Belgium and starting to make some headway on the European Series. You did the IAME Euro Series last year. You were also in the international finals. Just how big a step up is that from national competition?
The level here was very high, and there were competitors that I haven't raced with. So I learned a lot again. Like, you can't always have luck, and even if you don't have any luck, you can still make something out of it. I didn't make the final, but I got to look at the final and I got to learn from it again. I got to watch it, see how they race, and even if I didn't make the final, I still learned from it. Now I already raced one race, and the season still has to begin for the Euro Series and the Benelux that I'm driving and all my other races.
Now, one of the interesting things about the IAME Winter Cup this year was it was a new format for this season, because obviously it had last year, it was very much the traditional heats and then going into pre-finals, B final, C final to try and get into the A final. But this year, the introduction of the super heat. Tell us a bit about it, and is it something that you enjoy? Is it a nice change for you?
I think it's very good because normally when you don't get it into the final, you drive the B final on Saturday, and then you have to go home on Sunday and you can't really do anything. But now, even if you don't get into the final, you still get to drive on Sunday, and you can still race on Sunday because the super heats are both on Sunday. And I think it's a really good way to get the fun into the weekend, because normally Saturday you're already done and you're gonna be like, oh, I can't do anything on Sunday, it's gonna be boring again. But now you're excited for Sunday because you can still drive and you can still race and still do something, so you're not just bored all day.
I guess as well, what's really good is that with the superheat format, it kind of gives more drivers a chance to go through, because normally with the B final, it would only be the first 6 past the finish line. But with the superheats, even if you've had a bad qualifying session, you can make progress in the superheats with more drivers that are at your level.
Yeah, I think it's very good because I didn't have a good quali and I had a crash and I had some unlucky things, but I still got to drive the Super Heat and I still made up some places. And yeah, I think it's very good.
So let's talk a little bit about your progression through to the Euro Series. Obviously, last year you raced in the international finals and you were kind of really challenging the opposition in Senior X30. It's very, very competitive, and you're in a small team, EGP Racing, but even though it's a small operation, it seems that everybody around you is so determined and so motivated to succeed that you're always knocking on the door of the top 10. Are you surprised by how quickly you're making this progress, or is the fact that the team is so versatile at coming up with good speed and good strategy for you, is that helping to make it happen?
Yeah, I hear a lot that people are surprised by how much progress I made by the year. But honestly, EGP is just like family to me, and we do a lot of training, and they help me be the best version of myself, and I really like it. I really love that everything there is equal. It's not like, oh, he's the best driver. We have to give him everything of the best. But in EGP, everyone's the same, and we train a lot, and it's just great.
It's almost like you've hinted there that there's no issue with gender within the EGP racing team. Every driver just drives.
Yeah, because I think now we have 3 girls in EGP, and it's also fun to see how much more girls are coming into karting and racing in general, and it's just awesome.
Now, this is something that I've heard you talk about before. Obviously, as a girl in the sport, it would be very easy to ask the obvious and rather boring question of how tough is it to be a female racing driver? But this is the only sport where you can be on a competitive playing field at an equal level. So does that come with certain challenges, or do you just find that as a racing driver, you're just trying to match everybody without really having to think about it?
As a girl, you definitely have to train 10 times more than guys because girls do not have the physical body for it. We have to train our body 10 times more to get on the same level as a guy. So it's definitely hard to get to that point, but I'm working on it, and I think if I am to that point, I can really compete with everyone and be on the same level as guys.
It's interesting to hear you talk about it. I've heard drivers, when I've spoken to them in the past, say that the W Series, for example, there's no need for it in the sport because as it is equal, or supposedly supposed to be equal between men and women in the sport, there shouldn't really be a need for it. What's your opinion on that? Because I've heard some female drivers say it's a good thing that it's there, and some say that it shouldn't be there at all. What do you think of it?
It's good that there's a series for women only, but I think it's also good that women are allowed to drive next to guys, because I think if you drive against guys who are tougher than you and maybe sometimes better than you, it makes you also better, and you get stronger out of it. And I think in the future you will learn from it, and even though you think it's not good, I think in a way it helps you get better. I think it's good that there's also a women's series to promote women more in motorsport, and little girls look up to it and be like, oh, I want to be there too on that level and compete too or do it too.
It sounds like you think that there is a place for both theories to run alongside each other.
Yeah, I do. I think it's great. Also, the Girls on Track series for younger girls. Like now, I think already at the age of 12, they are already on a way to Formula 4 or with Ferrari and all that stuff. I think it's great that they are given the opportunity to start at a younger age to learn from it and get better out of it.
Now, one thing about your past as you came up through the ranks of karting is that a few years ago, you were able to represent Belgium at the Belgian Grand Prix as a Formula One grid kid. Now, I saw this, and I know quite a few guys and girls that were grid kids in Formula One. It looked like a really nice exercise to kind of open up the sport a bit to the young. You were in that program for the Belgian Grand Prix. What was it like? Did it actually give you a sort of an insight into the sport, or was it something that, it was so glamorous and so exciting as a young kid that that's kind of all you took out of it?
Obviously, I was very excited about it, and I went to go with my mom because we could only take one parent. We got to see the grid and all the very big trucks, and also a bit in the pit lane itself. But we didn't really get to meet them. We only got to ask for signatures, and that was kind of it, because everything went so quick. It was only one day, and the first half of the day we only went to see the track and everything. And then the other half of the day we could only be on the grid for the anthem and for the start of the race. Other than that, we didn't really get to meet them or anything, but it was very fun for obviously a child to meet your idols, and of course you look up to them. And I think it's great that they make things like this, because at that point dreams come true. You get to meet your idols and have fun at a young age. So I think we also get the opportunity that young kids want at that same age. So I think it's very great.
And you were already racing by this point. So if anything, this just kind of, I'm guessing, gave you even more motivation to reach the top. You know, getting into that world and getting a taste of it, now you want more.
At that moment, I thought, like, I want to be here. I want to stand behind me, be that person that's about to race and have all the grid kids in front of me instead of me being the grid kid. It was also fun to see that we got to meet them and we got all the suits and the hats and the shoes. We got to keep them just for a memory for when you're older. And I think that's maybe a small thing, but in the future, it's going to be a great memory to remember.
I can imagine. Now we go into 2022. Formula One's going through a bit of a culture shift. And we've seen recently, W Series is now part of the Formula One paddock. The esports world is growing. There is an esports driver from the F1 game coming into Formula 2 this year. There is so much more opportunity for youngsters like yourself to aspire to get to Formula One. Do you think that it's a little easier now for a driver like yourself to aspire to get to Formula One and maybe to reach it with things like the Girls on Track program that are there? Do you think that there's a better opportunity, or do you think it's tougher than ever because there are so many drivers wanting it?
I think it's great that they give younger girls now the opportunity to go much higher in a level than before, because now at the age of 12 they already get the opportunity to go into Formula One or also make contracts with Ferrari. Like Maya, she got the opportunity to work with Ferrari, and like Teresa Babiškova, she's now in the Wii Series competing. And I think it's great to see how girls go to Formula 4 or drive the Wii Series, or it's just awesome to see. And it keeps you going and it keeps you excited to drive and grow.
So coming into the 2022 karting season, you've obviously got a very busy program. There's going to be a lot of races for you with IAME Euro and IAME Benelux. And obviously any IAME driver wants to then go and win a ticket to go and race in the international finals later this year. So that's obviously where your program is going to be focused. What do you want to achieve from this year? What is your personal objective? Because obviously as a senior driver, you must be starting to think about, you know, that looming word of cars is obviously starting to be a possibility. What do you want to get out of your final year from karting? I mean, it would be obvious to say to win as many races as possible, but what do you feel is a realistic and achievable objective?
Of course, make some podiums, but also I think I want to grow as a driver and get the opportunity to compete in the Girls on Track or get other opportunities. But I think the biggest thing I want to achieve is just grow as a driver and learn from things, put myself in the picture so people are gonna notice me, so I get opportunities. I think
great stuff, and you can catch Sita in action through this year's IAME Euro Series live on Motorsport.
Sounds fantastic. Well, we're going to be following you all the way through the 2022 season. We're really excited to see how it goes, and I'm sure that by the end of the year, everybody's going to know who Sita Vanmeert is. Thank you very much indeed, and we'll catch up with you next time.
Thank you.
So joining me is the Martin Hines Kart Racer of the Year 2021, as voted for by the listeners of Downforce Radio, Daniel Guinchard. Daniel, brilliant performances that you gave us in 2021, your last year in karting, and you bow out at the top of your game in Britain. I mean, there are many people who dubbed you as the driver of the year, including the Ultimate Karting Championship Brigade, many people watching British karting. Just how do you sum up the 2021 karting season?
Well, I mean, it's been, I think, the busiest season of my life, and I've had to perform week in, week out. No driver could have done it without the support behind them. So I just physically wouldn't have been able to do it without everyone at Argenti, my family, my sponsors, my engine builders, every single person that's helped me in my journey last year. It wouldn't have been possible without them.
And it's obviously been very intensive because you had a very hectic program. You were in the British Karting Championship in both junior classes, X30 and Rotax at the top level. You did Kart Masters, as many British drivers do, the Ultimate Karting Championship, and you won them all. I mean, can you believe just how much silverware you collected last year?
It's been a pretty crazy season. Whenever I look back at the results or some of the races, it just shows that Argenti and I were just on a different level. No one was coming close to us. I just can't thank them enough for everything they've done, and they really helped me get to the top of my game in karting.
So you bowed out at the top of your game, but you actually took a very different journey through the world of karting to a lot of competitors, because you started in Honda Cadet and were in the top 3 in the country when you stepped up to junior. You dabbled in Europe, but you decided very quickly that Europe was not for you. What was the thinking behind that? Was it simply to do with budget, or did you feel that in the British Championships you could actually attain more success?
I think there was a combination of the two that you just said. We didn't have the budget to fulfill the European campaign as we wanted to. And we really thought that the British scene was really coming onto the rise with people like Argenti with big connections to other teams and formulas. We thought it would be best to spend our money in the UK in 2021, especially after I got offered a drive with Ron. But yeah, 2019 was very much me still learning in my first year of junior karting. So we went out to Europe, ventured in IAME and Rotax, and I learned a lot of skills out there. That definitely helped me in 2021. So it was definitely still beneficial that I went out to Europe. And then in 2020, I did what not many British drivers do nowadays. I started the year off in Europe, but then thought it was best to move to the German karting scene. I got offered a drive to do the German Championship, and that again helped me so much with my driving and calmness, especially under pressure, because those German races are very, very close all the time. Yeah, every single move we've done is just for me to gain more experience, and I feel like we've done the right move every single time.
And in the German OK Junior Championship, you took to it like a duck to water. So you obviously proved that, had the budget been there to go full tilt in Europe, you would have come all through with success. So do you feel that the one step back, 2 step forward approach is the reason you're now going to be in F4 this year? Do you think that would have come together had it not been for the decision to cut your losses and go for as much glory as you could back home?
I think it wouldn't have been possible without Argenti. So I think if we would have tried to battle it out in Europe with no sponsor or financial backing, it would have been so difficult, and I probably would just be still karting with no look into the future in motorsport, and I'd just be stuck. But thanks to Argenti and convincing me to come back to the United Kingdom, it was definitely the right choice, because they've given me an opportunity of a lifetime.
And you won 3 karting titles, won the actual British Championship in Junior Rotax, the other in Junior X30, and then an Ultimate Karting Championship title, as well as the Kart Masters Grand Prix. So the silverware must be absolutely exploding in the Guinchard household. Now you come into British F4 in 2022, and this is the ultimate starting point for any British racing driver wanting to go on to single-seaters in the future. Just what do you feel that you guys can achieve in 2022? We know that Argenti has got already a good success and a good mould in British F4. Do you feel that this is just the start of something big, or is it going to take a little bit of time, do you think?
Anything takes time, but it just depends how quickly we get on our feet, myself and the team. It depends how quickly I can really step up to the challenge and improve, because I know the team will be straight on the pace with the car and the setup, because I know how well they prepare for each race, the car team and the kart team. I've seen it all before, and they just do it better than anyone else. So I'm going to make sure that I'm at the top of my game as well as them, to not let them down.
And you're going to be in the TOCA package, obviously, which is a great proving ground and a great opportunity to display to everybody, what you can achieve. This is going to be the biggest audience you've ever had as well. Does that add pressure to it, or does that just give you a little bit of extra motivation to pull something special out of yourself?
I think a bit of both. There's definitely going to be a little bit of pressure probably in the first couple rounds, where I just adjust to what's around me. But then I think once I start getting a bit more confident in the car and in the racing of single seaters, I think it will just turn into confidence, and I'll just keep improving step by step.
And obviously you have this incredible work ethic, which is something that a lot of British drivers have never really understood about you. You have a fully dynamic agenda. You always put 110% into everything that you do. What would you recommend to other drivers who are trying to go about it in a similar manner to you, the young Honda Cadet drivers that have come up and are wanting to come up and kind of do it the way you have?
I think it doesn't matter what route you take, as long as you show that you are at your best when you take that route. So, for example, when I went into the German scene, I worked harder than all the other drivers in the championship, and that really showed with the results. So as long as you just keep working at your maximum, giving it everything you can, you'll come out with the results in no time and opportunities.
It's a really good tip. So obviously now that you're in F4, this is a good path to move forward. Is the dream still very much Grand Prix at this stage, or is the focus now looking at things like the World Sports Car Championship or IndyCar, or have you not even thought about it? Is it still so early in the journey that you're just willing to go in whichever direction you naturally end up?
I think any driver wishes to be in Grand Prix racing, and I think there still is an opportunity for me if I work as hard as I possibly can. I've got the right connections, and if I work as hard and get the results that I'm hoping for, anything's possible.
I like the sound of that. Look, we hope that 2022 is an amazing season for you. We're going to follow your progress all the way through the year, Daniel. We'll report back regularly with updates, but thank you so much for talking to us, and we wish you all the best in 2022. Good luck with it.
Thank you for having me.
We're all very excited to see how Dan the man gets on in British F4, so good luck, buddy. That's it from this edition. We'll catch up with some more bright stars from here and overseas next time out. My big thanks to Lewis Gilbert, Sita Vanmeert and Daniel Guinchard. I'm Jake Sanson, and you've been listening to the Racing Voice podcast. Bye for now.